Right, hi, I'm Tony, and yeah, hopefully you found me through the website or another means. But what do I mean by work with us, and how can we help one another? Well, I think this is a really good platform because you all want CPD, but what kind of platform can we use? Well, I use this to learn all different manner of things. You can see one on the bottom right. So I started using the platform in 2017, and there's lots of good courses on there, things that we need to run a business, things that will help us, but not necessarily things that you get CPD for. But really, I think we should. So I also read some books. So these books are all from about successful businesses and dentistry. We have to make money in order to have a business and be able to provide a service. And as it says there, this is a great service. So what I want to do is for all of us to help do something to kind of create a dental health service, because what we have now just isn't working. And what we do have is we have this. Our patients trust us. If they don't, they wouldn't come. But I trust you to actually do your CPD. So this is, what we're aiming for is a certificate. And at the end of the day, that's something that you have to show to the GDC or present it to the GDC. And what it wants is your aims of the course. So I'm going to put these down. So I think we need to enjoy what we do, and we need to learn. We need to keep up to date. We need to work without a climate of fear. And actually, even if we don't know certain things, it doesn't mean that we can't actually just improve our health by general nudges along the way. And that's what a platform I'd hope to make along with you. And so the objectives, it says, is for us to be able to learn without worrying about these kind of GDPR constraints. There's of course some future learn on that. And we all learn slightly differently. So I'm terrible at reading books, but I do like watching a video. Anyway, so I've made one. And there's GDC. You'll find throughout what my opinion is of them. And I think we can improve health by learning if we actually share our knowledge and share our poor outcomes for whatever reason. Now, I come across this, and this is a great website. I was on the LDC myself for 25 years, and you pay for the LDC, or if you're in the Staffordshire area, you pay for it. And this is a really good resource, as you can see there for peer review. You probably can't, use the reference at the bottom, but just Google it. And it's full of resources, but it is 100 pages long, but 60 of them are kind of templates for, dental aspects that you would want to learn or keep up to date with. And any of you can do that, and you can find the resources for that and do your own. But you do need a kind of a facilitator, and especially if you want funding, then look at this hour-long video, which is obviously within their resource, and it's really good. It does include a coffee break, and there is some funding available. You may or may not want to bother with it because it's not a huge amount of money. But if you've got a facilitator, then maybe they should just keep it. Maybe that'd be an incentive. And I did do a peer review talk. And I was going to show that with ask questions at the end. But actually, 20 minutes is too long to listen to, even though that's the time for a TED Talk. But this is still available online. I think I'll make it public so you can see it, because it does include a tutorial that I gave on well-being, I think. And it says why I did it within the video. And this is the other resource. Well, we all pay for the GDC, so we don't actually have to say, this is as copied from the GDC. These people are meant to help us, but in fact, I think they do the opposite. And what they've forgotten, as you can read there, it says the consultation on our corporate strategy. Well, that's the problem. They behave like a corporate, and corporates don't necessarily, want staff to have they sort of be empowered to provide what they're trained to do. And really what we are is a service. So anyway, one of the resources on there, it tells you what you need, right? And so I'm trying to tell you what you need quite quick. And so you can read on that. They're the developmental outcomes. And I think within this covers all four. So as I'll say elsewhere, is if you pause the video and read it. I'm not going to read it for you. I'm not great at reading. Anyway, so I made a certificate. I think we must have done these for about 15 years. So clearly, the certificate, if you look closely, isn't that great? The one on the left, the one on the right, I made the other day, as you can see from the timing. Okay, and so you'll be doing this, and you'll get your 1 hour CPD. And then this one, you get 2 hours. And the reason is because you'll do it as a group. So I think if you do these meetings as a group, that's far better. And you need resources, so they're my resources. I made this website during COVID, and it needs updating, but there's a lot about me there. And also there's a 3-hour video that I gave to FDs on prevention, God help them. And so what we would need then is we need your reflections. And so these are reflections such as how to improve your well-being, and how do you learn, and what's my sphere of influences, right? So what's a health advocate and anything. But basically, that's too many. And yeah, I can dip in and out because I wanted to keep this to 5 minutes, and clearly I haven't. But maybe I'll do it again. What do you think? So how do you go about setting up a peer review group? You may already have one or something similar, but you just need to get in touch with some people and see how they feel about it. And we all have different qualities. So some are very academic and some extremely knowledgeable. Some are really good at what they do, and some are, we all have different things. Some people just get organised and very social, but get a group of people, and as it says on the other things, from different practices. And one of the big things is decide where you're going to have it. And you'll find where we normally have ours isn't a practice. But yeah, we used to do them. Someone would cook a meal. There'd be a group of about 8 of us when we first started, and that was generally just within the practice, and it expanded from when we started with our FDs. And so we've got all these things that can help us now. So we use WhatsApp, and I'm sure you're all in WhatsApp groups, and they work really well. So if some of you don't use it or don't know how to use it, then, teach one another. So, so I'm talking about innovation. So that picture was from Vancouver. And you can see there, that's how many people are on our group. But we only ever get about 15 people that come, or less, because otherwise we won't fit in. But, you can see who's around, what's a good date for everybody, what's a good time. And also who's going to go to the pub afterwards, which I think is far more important for your mental health. It's just to chat about your worries. But, we should get together and be more social. And this is where I say that they've got stuff from TED Talks. And the person that set up TED Talks was Chris Anderson. And he wrote this book. So I bought this book in Vancouver. But what I was trying to point out there is that if you actually take a photo when you're at the meeting, it has everything that you need. It's time-stamped, it's got where you are, and it shows your presence there. But quite frankly, Google knows where you are anyway. So some of the stuff we have to put down, I think we're being tracked. So yeah, if you listen to one TED Talk, listen to Sir Ken Robinson and how we should learn from one another, and possibly how you've forgotten how to learn or think for yourself. And then the resources. So it asks about resources. So I've put something else down about a website that I made. But when I started making my app, I had to make my own videos, which I didn't appreciate. But now I seem to have quite a lot of them. So if you type in DHS, I've been trying to get the dental health service not the NHS to get on board with us. But, as soon as they see the word dentistry in innovation, they're just not interested. But have a look at how we can learn from one another. And as you can hear, I've speaking on that. I shouldn't be there. And, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you subscribe, more of the public will find us and they'll find you. And so for your certification, you have to give feedback. So, I used to use SurveyMonkey, and I did it for my patients when I was first making my app. One of the interesting things is about how you word these things, and you learn as you go along about product design. But I asked my patients, would they like me to check them once a year for mouth cancer, or would they prefer to know how to check themselves once a month by using a video? Yeah, and they said they prefer me to do it once a year. We did have a talk by a chap, the head of oral cancer, mouth cancer for the Southwest, and that makes you think. Anyway, so ultimately you'd end up with your CPD certificate, because if you send in your feedback to the facilitator, then they can send you your certificate, just a little nudge for you. That's all about, what's it called? I forgot the name of it now, but it'll come to me tomorrow. But it's all about nudging people to make the right decision. And then, on all of these, you won't get any CPD for this, but in the long run, hopefully you'll get it when I've developed the platform within the dental health service. So I then stuck in a question. So how can we make this easier? You may have a better answer. Libertarian paternalism from Thaler and, and the other guy. I knew I'd get there in the end. All right, so how can we improve our learning, sort of working together? I needed to press the button. That's one way. But we're all interconnected now. So I qualified in 1982. So you can imagine there have been a few changes since then. We've got these mobile devices and computers and stuff. I've kept a record of how we used to keep our files, but I wouldn't look at that too closely. But so I used to use this a fair bit, which is Dropbox. And on it, I've got one of the talks I did about peer review. And this relates to the guy there who's called Tony Robbins. So if you use ChatGPT and say, what's Tony Robbins' 10 top tips for well-being, right? He's very enthusiastic, and they're really good tips. And, well, he would be. He's made a career out of it. And he talks in his talk that I went to in Vegas over 10 years ago, I think, and which was on scanning. He gives a talk about a nurse and a nun, which I've got time to tell you now, but it's a very good story. And this is a bit dull, but this is what you have to do. This is from the GDC website. It's CPD. So this is where you have to record as it says, the activity. And there's another one there. So these are all where you probably have to put everything down. And I don't think there's a quicker way of doing it. But lots of you are quite good at typing, and don't make as many spelling mistakes as me. So I think if they saw some of mine, they'd probably kick me out of dental school. They would have done. They just couldn't read my writing, thank God. Anyway, but this was good. So I really quite like this professional, what's it called? Professional development plan, it says at the top. I didn't like it at first, but it was a really good exercise to see where there were gaps in your learning. And if you find it too arduous, then decide to specialise so you only know one thing and then you get paid more money for it. That works really well for the public who no longer can have, for instance, can't have a root filling. You have to see a specialist, or a specialist have the tooth. There's lots of things that we can sort out. But this cycle is elsewhere, and I did this again around during COVID. I was a trainer for 20 years, and towards the end of the year, they get a bit, they know everything. You know everything when you come out of university. But this was an idea. So if you, again, pause it and read it, see how we can improve iteratively this video channel that I will include within this dental health service that I hope we're all trying to build. And it's how we can all look at different diverse videos about different techniques and which are the best ones and which are the ones that just, we can actually look up our phone if we're doing an apicectomy just before the patient comes through the door. It's better than reading a book, which is what I did. And yeah, so some of my stuff is on Dropbox. Like I said, I do have difficulty accessing Dropbox now because I've used it so infrequently. But you can see there that there's some of the courses that we did and the dates that we did them. Yeah, and what was the other part? Oh, right. So this is You don't get any training about a business. And I think before I put something down about what are your pains, and this is how you can look at something, and you need a group of you to talk about it, because we all have the same problems within the general dentistry, and so do the public. And it's how you can get these things to merge together and build a business. And in my case, I think we can build a business based around prevention. So if you look in the corner, you can see the name of the company. These are freely available. And this isn't new. I think these are about 13 years old, the videos online. So if you look at their particular videos, they are brilliant. They're about 10 minutes long max, explaining how you can improve your work environment, how you can improve the service. And I did it myself. I've done about 4 applications for health innovation. This one was on making replica dentures, because 14,000 dentures go missing every year from care homes. And so my main interest or route to market is through care homes. But I did some there was one on mouth cancer screening, there was one on developing an app, there was one on health hubs. They've then said, why didn't I think about doing an app again? But they won't do anything because it says dentistry. They're not interested. They've got other worries. So anyway, I've just added a little bit to this. I put my picture back on. It's a distraction when you have my face there. And also when I make mistakes, I can change it. But anyway, what's your biggest work pain? What would you want to share? So that would be a question for this when it's actually on our Moodle site, which will be embedded within this dental health service. And then you think, how could you sort it out? But more importantly, there'll be more people looking at your comments, and they may have an answer for you. So this is all about what we can achieve as opposed to what you can achieve. So again, I forgot to press the button. But there are lots of things that we can do. We just, as it says there, it's got its thinking cap on. We have to think different. We have to think maybe out of the box. You've heard all these terms, right? But we can't move fast and break things when it comes to teeth. But it can when it comes to IT. So when I was on the LDC, after I'd sold my practice, I was a bit bored. And so I said, well, let's make a website. Oh, this isn't very good. And said, yeah, well, I'll go ahead and do it. But I went and looked online and saw that lots of other LDCs had websites. There's about half of them. And so and a few of them were really good. And I said, well, so I contacted them and said, can we copy a website? And they said, well, no, because we spent a lot of money on this. Now, an LDC is paid for by you, right? And so my view was that if we had one good one that was curated by people who knew what they were talking about, then all we needed was a little section for local meetings. And really we have a problem that we just aren't organised. And this could be the way that we can be organised. And I asked the GDC because we didn't have everyone's details and we couldn't really communicate that well. But the GDC have everyone's details, and I asked them to give them to our LDC, the big LDC, and then people could kind of request them. Anyway, the GDC weren't forthcoming. They're not great, but they don't want us to sort of have some kind of united effort. But what I did use is this in reverse. And this applied for FDs when it comes to agile. I think that was on my Demflix. Is if you get different people inputting different things, as it says there, adult videos. It's obviously adult teeth and videos about cancer. That's a happy-go-lucky one. But we can actually pool our resources if we get organised. So we make our lives easier, and we can have things quite concise, and and we can develop a platform that will help everyone, including ourselves. So this is the big idea, the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal, is, from what was his name, Richard Branson, many years ago. So I play around a lot with my computer, and you learn by your mistakes. But we need to share them. So this is the course that we're building is Moodle, right? So Future Learns on Moodle. Lots of people use it. But these are the courses that I will do. But you can do ones, specifically on clinical ones. And people have these cameras now that work far better than when I trained back in the early 80s, where you're watching over about 10 people's shoulder trying to see someone do a root filling. There's some great resources out there but we just want to find the best one or two, that we don't waste time looking round and then getting lost, looking at cats doing stupid stuff. So there are the courses that I'm going to sort of start on, but what would you want? And so this is what I made about it's over 2 years ago now. That was the idea, and it was to create this, but I never got any funding, and I kind of was running out of money, so I did it myself. And so this is the website that hopefully you've come across, and by the time you come across this, it'll have a registration site. But ultimately, with the registration site, if we get enough funding, then we will be able to develop an app again. So you can look up Teeth for Life. I think it's still on the App Store. It's no longer on Google Play. But we could do this. The one thing, there are lots of things I'm not good at, but product design, most of your younger dentists will be brilliant for help for product design. What do you use? Which is the best app that you have? And what do you find engaging? What can we put as a notification, like monthly, that people engage with the product, engage with health? There are lots of things that we can do. So, this is how Future Learn works. So you can ask yourself, you may have something that you do and you think, that saves me a hell of a lot of time. That's brilliant, but how would I know? Well, you put it on your reflections here. And so what is the hack? Well, it's a simple tip to improve health and wellness efficiently. And if you need to get that written down in a few words, then do what I did, is look up ChatGPT. Anyway, I hope this has been useful. Oh yes, I forgot about this bit. Yeah. If you want to, I've made lots of videos, but this one has actually got a lot of clinical stuff in it, and things, I was taking x-rays from over 20 years ago and some photos. Never thought anyone ever would see them, but you can see how things last. So we need to work from our experience. If we share our experience, like these acid edge bridges I did, they lasted 30 years. They're a lot cheaper than an implant. I even did them on the health service.